Hello, folks. How you doing? Bob Gums bringing you the Concerned Forum, and it is Saturday night here. And I'm trying to get it so that I do my show every Sunday. But to be quite frank about it, I heard so much bullshit uh, coming across on the media that it just got me angry. And so I figured, let me go ahead and get it off my chest. I figure that's the most constructive way of dealing with bullshit. Let's talk. Right? First thing, I wish the Democratic Party, and I'm not talking about the base, I'm talking about the grand poobahs like in the DNC and folks like that. I wish that they would make up their minds just what in the hell they want to be about. Do they want to be about uh, decent quality of life for all Americans, the Constitution, freedom, etc.? Then you need to stand up and say it. Listen, I understand that some people have some problems with the Democratic Party. I have big problems with the Democratic Party. Some of them are getting a little better. However, Democrats as a party, we have the reputation we developed it over the last 15 years or so of the punks in the American political system. In other words, we don't stand up and fight. And that's true, unfortunately. We're running around worrying about Robert's Rules of Order, and the Republicans are just like the ancient vandals, robbing and raping their way across the nation. And, baby, that's not going to work. You got to stop bringing a butter knife to a gunfight, okay? You're going to be the loser. Also, I think that many of these elected Democrats, we need to shed them the way a dog tries to shed fleas, quite frankly. I have no use for moderate Democrats. I have no use for corporate Democrats. I think that's what has ruined the party. This is, supposed to be the party of FDR. We've become the party of the corporations. And that does not help our working class base. Now, having said that, let me say this. You know, America as a nation, we need to get a big freaking couch and a qualified shrink because, in spite of the Democrats' bad slip ups, any sane person would have told you that you had no choice but to vote for Kamala Harris. And let's be honest about it. The reason that many folks did not vote for her was because she was a black Asian female. End of story. I mean, I don't have to tell you about the history of racism in this country. You think you're going to have chattel slavery for over 400 years and then snap your finger? Oh, okay, we're all equal. Human beings don't work that way. Okay, life doesn't work that way. And so I think what the Democrats need to do, and I'm talking again to the grand poobahs like in the DNC and folks like that, and maybe these elected Democrats, stop beating yourself up, right? Stop beating yourself up. Support the candidacy of Zohar Mandami, okay? And tell Americans that, hey, as a party, we ain't perfect, but baby, neither are you. You have the situation now where I keep hearing, oh, well, the American people just kept getting screwed for so long. Hey, listen, man, I can dig that. I'm one of the people, right? Look what they do to veterans. If you do that, if you can do that to people who are willing to give your life, give their life for your organization, and you treat them like that, I mean, how do you expect them to treat anybody else? Uh, Trump. To me, it's nothing but pure hatred that put Trump in the White House. Okay, this is a guy that says that dead veterans were suckers, right? That he don't understand why people would risk their lives for their country. You know, um, probably one of the greatest war heroes we've had since Vietnam. Excuse me, since Korea. John McCain. And he said that he didn't see John McCain as being a hero. That should have been the red blinking light right there. Not to mention all of his convictions, his felonies, his bankruptcies, the allegations of sexual abuse. What, 26? But you, the American people, you voted for this piece of trash anyway. And now they're running around, you're sorting yourselves, right? Oh, what's going to happen with the economy? Is he going to push us into a recession and then a depression? What about our allies? Are we going to be alone in the world? How? How come jobs? There's no jobs being created. The unemployment thing is rising. What, what, what do you expect? What I'm saying is, and I don't want to get this misconstrued. I don't want to see a situation where the American people try to cover up their own guilt, their own bad judgment, and to be honest about it, their racial and gender bias by saying, "Oh, well, we had to pick the mentally deficient, uh, intellectually incompetent crook, thief, possible sexual trafficker." That's what you did. All right. You might not like the sound of it, but that's what the American people did. So I would say don't try and blame the Democrats for everything. Now I'm not an apologist for the Democratic Party. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm also a registered member of DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. So I'm not trying to carry no water for the National Democratic Party as a whole. But by the same time, I believe in justice and being fair and being right. Yes, the Democratic Party has, over the last 15 years, we have, as a party, we have screwed up big time, right? But don't put the blame on 2024. Don't put it all on the Democrats. Because a lot of you people out there now, you helped, right? You voted for this guy, right? And you have to ask yourself, number one, are you an adult? And as such, you do realize that sometimes human beings have no choice but to pick the lesser of two evils, right? And if you want to go to this bullshit about, oh, well, the lesser of two evils is still evil, so what? It ain't a perfect world. But do you seriously think that the scenes of National Guard and Marines walking through America's streets, the scene of people being dragged off in unmarked vans by guys wearing masks who we like to think are some type of law enforcement, do you really think that that would be going on if Kamala Harris is president? I don't think so. Do you think that this madness with the tariffs, do you think that this would be going on? A lot of you, what's this now? Oh, almost in September. I, I don't usually go. I don't go down south anymore. Okay, for a whole lot of reasons. Um, but I will tell you, I'm curious when all these people down there start marching in the Walmart and all these other, you know, uh, cut rate, low dollar stores and what have you. I want to ask them. I mean, are you happy having to pay out of your ass, right? It's because of the tariff mess that is forced price is so high. You happy with that? You happy with the gift that Trump has given you? Have you got it to your thick skulls yet? That no, the elite in this country don't give a good goddamn about you. It also includes if you have a representative that voted for that piece of bullshit bill that they passed for Trump, that little box, he don't give a damn about me. Make sure you check that. Seriously. Democracy, it ain't easy. Okay, it's not. What did Churchill say? Next, uh, out of all the worst kinds of government, what did he say? Something about democracy is one of the worst forms of government, but it's better than all the others. Well, he's right. And for this thing to work, we need people who are informed, who are educated, and hold their elected officials accountable, and also hold the media to a large extent responsible. Remember, we see Trump now. He's a blithering maniac. I don't know why he's always been a blithering maniac to me. But I'm a native New Yorker, so I'm used to having to put up with that garbage. But you can see now that every responsible shrink, doc, eh, you see the man's falling into pieces, and that his mind is just not right. But you saw that. See, you chose to vote for that. And I think a lot of you need to sit down and ask yourself. I'll give you an example. You're a farmer in Nebraska, right? Your livelihood and the livelihood and financial well-being of the state that you live in depends upon you being able to do your thing. Your thing being farming, right? To do the farming, you need a lot of hands, especially if you have a big spread, right? Now, like 90% of the hands, if not more, were people of color from south of the border, right? And what you did, you voted for a person who you know was a racist. Deep down inside, come on, you can't be that stupid. You know that man hates people of color. He has said and done so many things that, all those signs are unmistakable. And you knew that. You also, again, going back to the fact that the hands that, just like in the old South, the hands that picked the cotton back then were black for the most part. Nowadays on the farm, the hand that picks your produce is brown. And you knew that. You know that, right? But you voted for a guy that said that he was going to get rid of all the brown people, quote unquote, illegal. Which, look, that's bullshit. This is America. If everyone who came over here legally came legally, there wouldn't be a United States. Okay? And no, I'm not talking about no borders. What I am saying is that there are more intelligent, competent, humane ways in regards to policing the border than this insanity that Donald Trump has got us going through. He has this woman, what's her name, Dawn, or whatever the hell the one that shot her dog, right? Now, this woman wants to have a wall, right? Painted black. Now, that's a hell of a symbol for the land of the free and the home of the brave. And then you got these right wing conservative idiots in Oklahoma, want everybody to read out of the Bible and, asking teachers from New York and California their political beliefs, which is illegal, right? That's illegal. That's illegal in the U.S. Constitution. That's illegal in every state constitution. Okay? But just for the sake of argument, these bastards are talking about, the Bible and the Ten Commandments and all that shit, right? Well, hey, oh, and patriotism. Why the hell should anyone be patriotic for a country that wants to wall itself away from its southern neighbor and paint that wall black so that people who are desperately trying to climb that wall can get burnt to a cinder when the sun is out? Is that the kind of America that you're proud of? I'm not. I gave this country 26 years of my life. Army, Navy Reserve, Army Reserve, National Guard. Yeah, I say that quite a bit because I like for it to stick into people's heads because you have a lot of phony MAGA. And when I say phony, I'm not saying that they're not authentic MAGA, but I'm saying that the whole proposition of what MAGA stands for is phony. And you have people like that. Um, you have Republicans, or what used to a party that used to be Republican, talking all this smack about immigrants. And we have to be strong, but the strength is having a set of guiding principles and the belief in the humanity and dignity and freedom of man and sticking to that. That's strength. I'm also a little bit tired of hearing this shit about young men. Well, number one, we know that generally they're not talking about young men of color. Uh, Young men, black and brown young men, has historically we've had to basically fish for ourselves. But I'll tell you, being a little bit older, I will tell you that if these young men now, if you think you have problems now, you should have been around here in like 67, 68. Yeah. Especially most of you don't have any intention of going to a university, right? Hey, 67, 68, 69, 70. Yeah, your butt would be in a rice paddy somewhere, or you'd be freezing your ass off on the east-west German border. So, yeah, every generation has its unique share of problems, and you have yours, and hopefully you'll be intelligent enough to figure out a way to that problem. Okay, I think it would help if you spent more time in your education and less time looking at Fox and listening to a lot of these right wing, what you call 'em, boy guys, whatever, cranks that are coming across the internet. I think maybe it's time that you deal with the reality of who you are, what country you live in, and the history of that country. And a lot of you that went out there and went to the right wing and voted for Trump and ran around with little MAGA flags, how does it feel that you voted for a guy that basically said, hey, you disabled veteran, get the hell out of that job? Hmm? So let me ask you something, and I repeat, if you're going to treat so badly the people who are willing to die, people who gave up a leg or an arm, in some cases a couple of legs, if you're going to treat them like crap, how do you think you, young, healthy male, how do you think you're going to get treated by these right wing sickos that we have in the White House and in Congress? Think about it. Now, to a more pleasant subject, I'm so happy that my man, Zohan Mandami is kicking ass in New York City. You have that, was it Adams? Was it yesterday? He had seven more of his aides pop, right? They're going to court for criminality, corruption. So that's a good, excellent character reference, right, Mr. Adams? See, this is what I mean. People not thinking when they vote, right? And that goes for a lot of you black and brown folks out there too. We saw you, okay? We know who you are. See, and you have to crying the blues now. Some of you, many of you, Palestinian or Arab Americans up there around Detroit, Michigan, Wisconsin, right? You're the one calling, oh, Kamala Harris is a butcher. She kills Palestinians, so we're going to vote for Trump. Listen, um, the white card is dead. It has no meaning. And exactly what I mean is that for a long time you had, most like, black Republicans, uh, Latinos who worked with the Republican Party, and Arab Americans who also did the same. You ethnic minorities, you felt that somehow being with a right wing conservative crank party would somehow boost your credentials. That's what I mean when I say the white card, right? Well, now there's no such thing as a white card. A lot of working class whites fell for this nonsense that, oh, yeah, we'll show these black and brown people because we hate DEI. We're not quite sure what it is, but we hate it anyway. See? And it's a damn shame. I find you even have Republicans in the NAACP. Now, I grew up, and I think I said this just about every show. And if it annoys people, good. But I grew up in the Republican family, black Republican family. But that was a Republican Party. And what we have now is not a Republican Party. This is a MAGA party, which means this is a party that is basically dedicated to xenophobia and racism and sexism. So I am very leery of any person of color. I know George Carlin hated that term, but that's the one thing I disagree with him about. Everything else he's 100% right on the money. But if you're a person of color and you are really comfortable in today's Republican Party, with all due respect, I don't want you anywhere near me, quite frankly, because you're dangerous. I believe that you're dangerous to yourself and everyone else. Just like that boy in Florida, Brian Daniels, who think he's going to be governor. Oh my God. He's fucking hilarious. Pardon my French. But he is. He really is. I'd like for somebody, if not me, I'd like for somebody to ask him, how does he feel about this president taking the picture of the only black president, um, the only obvious black president, I would say, uh, and putting that picture in the basement. I like to ask him how he feels about that. I really do. I'm trying to understand why some of us are so, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it's suicidal. And unfortunately, my white brothers and sisters have, you know, been infected by a lot of this, racism and sexism. And quite frankly, being, a woman of any color is a Republican woman to me is a woman that hates her sex and hates herself. Period. And I'm not the first person that noticed this. This has been a school of thought for a very long time. Now, he totally, he messed up Vietnam, but I understand because he had the pressure of corporate America, right? I mean, he did screw it up though by not pulling us out of Vietnam. I'm talking about LBJ. He did everything right except for Vietnam, unfortunately. And he said, if you make the poorest of the whites think they're better than the best, well, he uses the term colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and He'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon Baines Johnson. Okay, now you tell me that ain't happening. All you working class white folks out there who voted for Trump, have you been keeping up with how he's been robbing the country blind? I don't. That's why I say yes. The Democratic Party needs to do some serious renovations, right? They need to get this bullshit idea about, oh, well, I'm a moderate Democrat. Oh, well, I'm a corporate Democrat. Or I'm a conservative Democrat. People do not eat when they are hungry, when their children are hungry. They do not eat conservatively. Okay? Either you are or you are not a Democrat. Now, that's the problem that I have with, what's his name, Jeffries out of Brooklyn. Now, this guy, uh, show about Mondami, and he does an excellent two-step buck and wing. Whee! But same thing with my brother over there in New Jersey, Booker, right? The man is doing the right thing. We, as a country, we're so scared of words, democratic socialism, and some people, especially down south, you know, no, man, it means that people vote for the kind of people they want in government, and that government does the things that people cannot do as individuals. It's just that simple. It's 21st century. Uh, you have to, we already have uh, socialism in America, right? Social Security, unemployment insurance, food stamps, Medicaid, Medicare, right? Department of Education, whether you like it or not. Those are things that we as a society can do that an individual cannot do. Yeah, and as you can probably tell, I'm a Catholic schoolboy, St. Thomas the Apostle, shout out. But I don't believe that the government should be paying for charter schools. Seriously. See, one of the problems that we have in this country is people want to try and have stuff both ways. You can't say, well, this is a market-based capitalist society. If you want it, you have to pay for it. Well, that's the same thing with charter schools, quite frankly. You have public education, which Thomas Jefferson was fully in favor of public education because he knew that in spite of his other faults, he knew that it would only be an educated people that would be able to defend the democracy. See? Now, if you have a problem with how the schools are operating, then that's why you elect people. I'm not in favor of school boards. I'm in favor of parents coming into the schools and taking a look around and maybe even learning something. But I believe that the people who should run the school are the people who are schooled, who are educated, right? Okay, or the next time you need to have kidney surgery, I'll come over and do it for you. And I damn sure don't have an MD. See my point? That's what I mean. We have to get rid of a lot of the lies and delusions, right? And see, that's the responsibility of the Democratic Party, the media, and the voters, right? I mean, you're sitting up here and we're watching this guy, supposedly president. He has a, what do you call it, a rap sheet as long as your arm. And he's sitting in the White House talking about, well, we have to put the military in D.C. because of crime. Hey, man, you're the biggest criminal in the joint, right? So what the hell are you saying? You know, the money that he's grafting is unconstitutional. That's a crime, you know, but nobody's saying anything. And then if you say, oh, well, why is it that, some people are just able to break the law and no one says anything? But you catch that young brown or black brother out there, right, with a little bit of weed or a little bit of, crack or whatever type of drug, and you basically set up to ruin his life. Right? That sound right to you? Doesn't sound right to me. I don't know. Fuck it. I'm an eyeball, but it fair is fair, you know. And common sense is common sense. But getting back to Mondami, you got Adams out there trying, but basically him and Cuomo are trying to use this gab about, oh, well, he has a rent control apartment. So what? Okay. People in New York do have rent control apartments. And we'd like to keep that thing open for people. Um, as a matter of fact, it was Cuomo a few years ago that pushed a law that said about the income level for people who have a rent controlled apartment. In other words, as long as you're in there, it's okay. Say. Now he's trying to go back on that and say, oh, well, Mondami is taking advantage. Oh, bullshit. You know. See, that's why he's doing so well. Um, one thing I say about folks in New York, majority of them, uh, they can be very thick-headed at times, but eventually, when they see the light, they see the light, and they usually see it. They're usually pretty good about seeing it. Yeah. Um, and what else we got there? The guy with the Ranger, the little red beret. I always forget his name. It's Crazy Sleeper. I don't know. Become mayor, I'll get rid of my beret. Hey, man, you can get rid of your beret now. It just doesn't make a difference. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if New Yorkers are crazy enough to put you in the mayor's seat, maybe the red beret is the one thing you should keep. Quite frankly, you know. Nah, Steve was cool in his own way, but it's another time, man. You know, it's another time. People, people are hurting, okay, and they don't have time for the same old okey doke anymore. Uh, the Republicans don't give a damn how the people feel, and the Democrats, I don't know, for a long time they seemed like they were scared to reach out. Yes, raise the minimum wage and fight for it. Yes, fight for national health care. You know, issues like that, right? And yeah, we need a CCC program just like Roosevelt did back in the 30s to put people to work, for God's sake. There's no jobs out here. You just got the damn jobs report. Was it last week? There's no damn jobs. The economy is screwed. And it's also screwed not only because of Trump and his madness with the tariffs, but things have been happening. You know, the American elite spent more time investing in freaking China than they spent investing here in America. And that's one of the main reasons why you don't have a job if you're unemployed. Seriously. You can't you can't show more respect for other countries than you show for your own. Now, I don't believe in this America First bullshit because it was bullshit the first time when they came up with it in 38, 39, right? It was just an anti Semitic vehicle. And it's not that much better in 2025, right? We don't live on this planet by ourselves. And anything that we want, some of the materials are going to come from other countries. That's just a fact of life, right? There's not going to be a big renaissance of American factories hiring Americans. Anybody who told you that is lying to you. But what you have to do, you have to start thinking, was that Project 25? Take a look at that sucker. What they're trying to do, they are trying to wipe out the middle class. They just want, when I say they, I'm talking about Trump, the MAGA Republican Party, and the people who support that, the wealthy folks and corporate people who support that. They don't want a thinking, thriving middle class. They don't want that. They just want rich or, up there, and they want the poor. They they drove out all those Latinos because they want the job to be done by, and not just black people, but the majority of it, they want it done by poor working class white people. That's who they want to take over the Latino jobs, right? Because when you have people who are basically whipped into exhaustion trying to work, you feel you can take advantage of them. Because very rarely will they have the opportunity to educate themselves, improve their standing in life. So what do? You go around working class white people and you talk about, hey, you want DEI. And the average working class person that screams about DEI don't know what the hell it means. Okay? DEI, that's how you got that Andy Gumps looking vice president that we got now, right? He's a DEI baby. He was a poor white trailer park type kid from Appalachia who was able to graduate out of Harvard. Okay? That's not typical in America. It should be. That's what we are fighting for. But no, it's not typical. That was basically DIA. Okay? So get it through your skulls. DEI does not just mean, for black and Puerto Rican or black and Hispanic or Latino people. No, no, no. It talks about people who've been historically disadvantaged in the workforce. Now, if you don't understand that, then I suggest you sit down and open up a history book, right? But then again, we can't, we don't want white working class people to read history. Because they might start putting two and two together. And they might start to realize that their real enemy is not a left wing loony like me, right? This crazy black leftist like me, this crazy black Democratic voting DSA member person like me. And then, hey, he's not the enemy. That lunatic sitting in the White House is my enemy. And see, they don't want to see that. Remember, in the history of America, right? When you start thinking like that, people try to take you out. I don't worry about it because, unfortunately, there are a whole bunch of people like myself who are finally starting to see that this whole thing is bullshit. You know, I used to be just a straight Democrat, Who's running? Well, that's Republican over there. That's the Democrat there. Okay, boom. D, D, D. Will I be doing that from now on? No. It depends. Seriously. When I look at these elected Democrats and I see where they're getting their money from, corporations and APAC, and we're still dropping bombs or helping the right wing government of Israel dropping bombs on babies, I have a problem with that. And I'm not alone. The majority of the planet has a problem with that. See? And I don't like the idea that I say that if I try to organize a boycott against the state of Israel, that somehow that's, you know, what, against America? No, I'm an American. I'm concerned about my country standing in the world with the other nations of the world. And that's what I'm concerned about. And if I see something that another nation is doing, I'm going to exercise my right in the Constitution to speak on it. And anyone that tries to, come out against any type of divestment or tries to make problems for people, either in or out of politics, yeah, man, don't hand me that bullshit about you're an American, right? Because you're trying to take our rights away. We don't believe in genocide, okay? The UN, the World Health Association, Mary down in the corner says the same damn thing. It's genocide, right? You are purposely exterminating a group of human beings. Sorry, that's genocide. I wouldn't stand for it. It was happening to uh, your people, and I don't stand for it when it's happening to any other group of human beings. And even if there's nothing I can do about it, I damn sure don't have to support it. See, that's another thing about this whole business with Mr. Mandami, right? He has done, because I've been following up on this guy. He has been doing big time outreach to Jewish groups, synagogues, temples, what have you. Okay? But see, his job, if he gets elected, if they don't steal it from him, his job is to be the mayor of New York City, not to be the mayor of Tel Aviv. And quite frankly, if the Israeli government and if AIPAC had any respect for that, right, they would shut their damn mouths, quite frankly. Um, I gave up my active duty time in the Navy because of anti-Semitism in Florida. So I don't need anybody to lecture me about anti-Semitism. My greatest fear is that under the Trump regime, we are turning into American Nazi regime. And history tells us where movements like that usually, wind up at. So no, it's not about anti-Semitism. It's about right and wrong. Real simple. As far as Cuomo is concerned, um, listen, the people of New York will not give you a chance for your renaissance back onto the political stage. Okay? You'd probably better off running for the assembly in whatever area that you're living in. That's just the way it is. We're not going backwards. We're not going backwards. And I'm so glad that in New York, you have a large uh, coalition of thinking young people below the age of 35, that realize the importance of getting out and voting. So I would say to Mr. Cuomo and to Mr. Adams, you get all your big time fundraisers out in the Hamptons and, get on the phone with Donald and, y'all do what you try, whatever you're trying to do, y'all go ahead and do it because New York is going to vote. the way that we feel the vote should be. Period. We're going to vote for the interests of the mass majority of working class New Yorkers. And I think when at that debate, when Mondami said that he would stay in New York, to me, in my opinion, that's all he was saying. You know, what does it say in the Bible? Believe me, I'm not religious, okay? But there are good things in the Bible, okay? It's a good book. It's not the only book, but it is a good book. And one of the things they say, I think it was Jesus said, no man can serve two masters. You need to keep that in mind. And I would pass that little word of advice on to those other elected officials that were in the debate for the mayor's office. You know, all those who just, as soon as the question came out, which again, that's to show you the type of media that we have in this country, even in New York, right? If you get elected, I can't, I can't get over that bullshit. I really can't. If you get elected mayor of New York, where are you going to go? What's the first place you're going to go? Am I the only knucklehead that realizes how ridiculous that question sounds? My old chief in the Navy, he was wrong about this one. Yes, there is such a thing as foolish questions, right? And that was one of them. That was one of them. Yeah. If you become the mayor of New York, where is the first place you're going to go? That's like asking someone, hey, uh, you know who's buried in Grant's tomb? Hey, listen, I'm sorry, y'all. That one just blows my head. It really does. Where are you going to go if you get elected? Give the man, give a guy or a gal, give them a chance to get elected so they can piss enough people off so the people will chase him out of town. But god damn, you just got elected. Where you going to run to? Oh man. And Zohan, he's been catching hell ever since because he gave them the common sense answer. And yes, that will be an old, tired, worn out joke with me, right? If I live to be 150, I'm going to remember that line because it is so goddamn ridiculous. I'm sorry. Where are you going to go after you get elected mayor? What the hell? And the rest of them, what was it, about five of them was up there? My Tommy and five others. And each one of them said the same damn thing. You know, it was our media, so-called mainstream media, it's our media that screwed up. Our politicians, excuse me, elected officials, I'm going to stop calling them politicians so much. Call them what they are. They're elected officials, elected by the people in their district, right? Now, both of those groups so screwed up that you can't even give a straight, logical answer to a ridiculous question. Where are you going to go when you get elected? Come on. Jesus Christ. And then the other one, where's it? Trump. Now this bonehead psycho uh, looks more and more every day like a former sex trafficker. He attacks universities, talking about they're anti-Semitic. Well, we know the reason that he attacks universities is because he wants control. He wants control of the thing that people have in college, which for some reason he has either never had or lost it a very, very, very long time ago. And I'm talking about an intellect. See? And that's what this whole thing is about. And he's using anti Semitism as a mask, as a cover, to go after the universities. I mean, how in the hell can a guy who said that the Ku Klux Klan and the American Nazi Party, both of which are extremely anti Semitic, and then on top of that, he invites two of the worst anti Semites in the country to come to the White House, to go to Mar a Lago, and then he's going to turn around and say, oh, well, President Smith of, Boondoggle University, you're allowing anti Semitism, right? I mean, my God. Sometimes I really look at the American people and I ask myself, what the hell are you people thinking? You know, I mean, don't you understand? Like we say back in the city, don't you understand when you're being played for a sucker? Seriously. Because that's what Trump has done. He has played you. And it's a damn shame. It truly is. Because to me, the only real, how should I say, talent that Donald Trump has is spreading his own damn name and dividing people against each other. That's all. Right? That's all. And as a country, we fell for that. And well, the Republican Party, or what calls itself the Republican Party, as I was saying earlier, they are their hands are the most bloodiest, right? Their hands are the most bloodiest because they literally laid down at his feet for him to take over the Republican Party. But like I said, the media, mainstream media, and the Democratic Party, we have blood on our hands also. Okay? The media kept normalizing this guy and normalizing him. And now we have troops in LA and Washington, D.C., right? The Democratic Party, when they should have stood up and said, God damn it, people in this country, working people, deserve a decent quality of life. We are for national health care. We are for raising the minimum wage to an intelligent, humane level. Okay? They didn't do those type of things, right? And I understand that people were disappointed. In the beginning, Kamala Harris, she came out pretty good. But then what happened? All the handlers and the donor class and, corporate donors, all that bullshit. And how we used to say back in the day, we had a good high going on and you blew it, right? And that's what's happened with the Democratic Party. And the base knows that. And that's why the base is so angry. And I dare anybody from the DNC to come on this show and tell me that I'm lying or tell me even that I'm wrong. Okay? And that's dangerous. That's dangerous for the country. Oh, but what you have to do is stand up for the Constitution because the Constitution is a marvelous document, right? We can do anything we want in this country. We can make universities free, all that good stuff. But the people have the right they must have the right to vote on it through their representatives. And the problem with the Democratic Party is a lot of times you elected people, they try to give one face to the people in the district. And then when they go back to the office, they got some guy from the donors waiting there for him. And that's why everything gets so watered down. Yes, I'm on the left side of the Democratic Party. I'm a member of DSA. I'm a progressive American. I don't want to hear this bullshit about, middle ground and not fighting. Because the situation in this country is so extreme now. And believe me, for the next 2 months, what's this, August, September? Yeah, for the next 3 months, it's going to get a hell of a lot worse. And every economist that I've read up on, they say the same thing. And when that happens, people are going to need to know the base of the Democratic Party, working Americans. They are both going to need to know that you got people in political office that will fight for them. See, uh, my way of thinking, frankly, Democrats, you really have no choice because if you're a Democrat, you already have a target on your back, as we unfortunately found out with those two nice people who were in the state Democratic Party who were elected officials up in, what was that, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. They were slaughtered by a Trump supporter who posed as a police officer and who drove a fake police car. So next time you see ICE coming to your neighborhood, you think about that and make these people show you a warrant, an ID, and a warrant. You have that right. And if they're not willing to do that, then the mayors of these cities and the governors of these states need to authorize the National Guard to those communities to protect those people. Because no one has a right walking around with masks on their faces and guns in their hands and saying, you stop and do what I say because I'm the police, and they refuse to show ID or a warrant. Okay, we have not gotten to the level of Soviet Russia, excuse me, communist Russia yet. And you elected Democrats, you need to get off your ass. And if it takes you getting locked up by that Gestapo every other damn week, then that's what you need to do. Because the people elect you to represent and to fight for them. And the hell of the crap that's going on in the DNC. You want people to vote for you? Go out there and fight for them. You want people to vote for you? Screw the donors. Screw the donors. Get up off your ass. If you're a congressman, get up off your ass and start walking around your district. The same way Zohar Mandami did in New York City. That's what you need to do. And let your people see you and talk to you so that they will know that if the stuff goes down, yeah, well, this guy who represents me, he's got my back. Is how the Democratic Party gets back to being the majority. Listen, it's late. I wasn't even supposed to do this tonight, but I just had to get this off my chest. Folks, take care. God bless. Keep paying attention to what's going on. Take care of each other. Peace. And I will see you next time. It's Bob Gums of the Concerned Forum. Oh, and if you see it, when you see it in YouTube, check the little box there, if you liked it. Or if you didn't like it, leave a comment. I'm open minded. Take care, people. Good night.